Evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. The results are in. Residents in the riding of Don Valley West have chosen their next city councillor. Rachel Chernos-Lynn winning the by-election in Ward 15 tonight. The Toronto District School Board chair was up against a crowded field that included former journalist Anthony Ferry. Our Dale Manukduk is at Chernos-Lynn's campaign headquarters where they have been celebrating. And Dale, this was expected to be a close one between her and Ferry, but ultimately Chernos-Lynn winning by a sizable margin tonight.
That's right, Kelda, and people here are still celebrating that resounding, decisive win here at the Leaside Pub. Chernos-Lynn is somewhere in this crowd celebrating with friends, family, campaign staff as well. You mentioned it. It was a sizable margin. The unofficial results, Kelda, she got almost 55% of the vote, besting second place Anthony Ferry, the former Toronto Sun columnist, by nearly 23 points and more than 5,500 votes. When the results were announced just after 9 p.m., there was a huge burst of cheers here inside the bar. Chants of Rachel as she walked into the room and gave her winner's speech, which, to her credit, she says that it was super long because there is nothing short about her speeches other than herself. Her words, not mine. She's about 5 feet tall. Here's a little bit more from Chernos-Lynn about that win.
I feel fantastic. What's not to love, right? Great results, a hard slog. We put in 104 days on this campaign. So many people who worked on this campaign, and it all paid off, all that hard work.
So a little bit more about Chernos-Lynn. You mentioned Toronto District School Board trustee. She held that position for 6 years. She was chair of the board for 2 years. She ran on a platform of building up communities, walkable neighborhoods, improving service on the TTC, also addressing community safety and making sure that residents get value for their tax dollars. Now, that platform caught the eye of some major political forces, including former Premier Kathleen Wynne, who endorsed her. She was also endorsed by her now colleagues, councillors Jennifer McKelvey and Josh Matlow, who were here tonight to support and congratulate her. And with them was Mayor Olivia Chow. Here's what she had to say about her now co-worker.
She cares about the people right here and want to deliver results for people of Don Valley West. Local, optimistic, kind, caring, wants to work collaboratively, not in a divisive way. And that really means that she'll get a lot of things done.
Now, you heard her use the phrase "not decisive." Chernos-Lynn also said that at the end of her speech, making a reference to Anthony Ferry. She actually compared what happened in this Ward 15 by-election, Kelda, to what's happening south of the border and that big election for the presidency of the United States tomorrow, that race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. She said this was a choice between somebody who was about solutions and somebody who was about pumping fear into the community. And this election was a resounding rejection of that style of politics. We'll send it back to you.
Thanks so much for that, Dale. Our Dale Manukduk live for us tonight. And people across Canada and around the world are waiting with bated breath for tomorrow's big event in the U.S. It is Election Day in a country that couldn't be more divided or on edge. Back here at home, the Ontario government says it's willing to work with whichever party takes the White House. Lorena Redekop has more on the potential provincial impact of this U.S. election.
With the U.S. election race neck and neck, according to the polls, Premier Doug Ford put out a statement saying, regardless of the outcome of this week's elections, we stand ready to work with our partners south of the border. He's traveled to the U.S. before with his economic development and trade minister, both reminding the U.S. of the tight trade relationship Ontario has as a top trading partner for 17 different states. Still, his minister is prepared for a possible Buy America push, whoever wins.
There are certain places, we buy very specific products from. And if they're going to put tariffs, we're going to need a list of, sadly, a list of retaliatory tariffs. Last time, it lasted about 4 weeks. They put tariffs on, took them off in about 4 weeks.
8 years ago, at that time, City Councillor Ford didn't hide his support for Donald Trump.
I truly believe he'll be the next president.
He's obviously your pick for president. Tell us why.
Well, because he's not a politician. He's against the establishment.
This time, not publicly supporting either. Ford also has a connection to the Democratic ticket. Tim Walz visited him at Queen's Park shortly before Kamala Harris named him as her running mate.
I was happy as punch to see the governor get nominated. It's all about building relationships. I'll work with anyone. I don't care, Republican, Democrat. I don't care who's in there.
Opposition parties at Queen's Park are more willing to take a side, worried about a potential return to the White House by Donald Trump.
I'm worried for all of us if Trump wins. I'm worried for Canada because I think it will have a significant impact on trade, and I'm worried for the people of the United States.
That's what keeps me up at night. It's just the threat of violence and chaos south of the border. And that's somehow spreading up here. Right? Because we know that it's like a virus.
Minister Fedeli says they'll be coming out with a marketing push after January 20th, once the new president is in place, reminding the U.S. government of the importance of their trading relationship. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
Peel police have charged 3 men after violence erupted between groups of protesters in Bramton and Mississauga on Sunday. The incidents happening outside Hindu and Sikh places of worship. Tonight, yet another protest taking place at Hindu Sabha Temple in Bramton, where a large crowd gathered this evening for several hours. Demonstrators went on to march along Gore Road, leading to several road closures. Some demonstrators were seen kicking vehicles. And at around 9:30, Peel police releasing a public safety alert saying weapons were seen within the crowd and ordering people to immediately disperse or face arrests. Toronto police also sending in officers to assist Peel officers. Our Greg Ross has more on what sparked the demonstrations.
A violent clash outside of the Hindu Sabha Temple in Bramton. This was the result of a protest organized by a group called Sikhs for Justice.
This is not a religious battle or anything like that. We have an issue with the Indian government because they assassinated our colleague Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And there's credible evidence, and we will not let these diplomats roam free.
They say they went there after learning that diplomats from the Consulate of India were at the temple. People from the temple say they were there with good intentions.
The Consulate General of India, they were giving out the life certificate to the people who live, who are the expats from India, because they had to do their pension and so give a life certificate.
It's not entirely clear how the violence erupted, but today both sides are pointing the finger at the other.
They attacked us first.
Basically, they were trying to block the gate here. And as a result, people were not able to get in or get out properly.
They started getting closer and closer and closer until we were face to face.
They were using their flags as the sticks to beat people.
An off-duty Peel police officer has been identified as one of the protesters seen in online videos. A Peel police spokesperson has confirmed that officer has been suspended while the service investigates his actions.
I didn't even know he was a police officer, but I don't see anything wrong with with freedom of speech. It's not like we're violent or we're doing anything illegal.
Later that evening, there was another protest at a Sikh place of worship in Mississauga. Social media posts showed that demonstrators were waving the Indian national flag.
Some people who were angry, some Hindus were angry, again, and they were protesting that they should not have done it.
Today, the mayor of Bramton condemned both sides.
I was angry, horrified.
Patrick Brown saying that if he has his way, protests in front of places of worship will be illegal.
The vast majority, 99% of the Sikh community, 99% of the Hindu community look at these protests and say they're wrong. Enough is enough. And it's why I have said that I'm putting forward a motion at our city council to prohibit protests at places of worship.
That was our Greg Ross reporting. Now, Toronto Police launched their annual Crime Prevention Week today in conjunction with the province-wide campaign. This year's theme is Keeping Ontario Safe Together.
Many in our communities are concerned about auto theft, break-and-enters, and gun violence, to name a few. As a police service, our #1 job is to keep people safe. This means making arrests, going after criminals, and importantly, it also means focusing on prevention.
Police kicking off the initiative at the Jane Finch Mall. They say this year's focus will be on increasing awareness of the tools available to community members and local businesses to stay safe. Just 10 more days until Taylor Swift and her fans take over the city. Ahead of her much-anticipated Toronto stop, new temporary street signs were unveiled today in honor of the pop star.
To mark the imminent arrival of the Eras Tour and Taylor Swift, the City of Toronto is unveiling and declaring the route that connects City Hall and Rogers Centre as the Taylor Swift Way.
22 of the signs will eventually be auctioned off, with the money going to the Daily Bread Food Bank. Rogers will match donations up to $113,000, a nod to Swift's lucky number 13. She's set to perform 6 shows beginning November 14th. Toronto is set to host 6 matches in the next FIFA World Cup, and with just under 2 years to go, the city is eyeing ways to pay for its hosting duties, including a temporary increase to the city's hotel tax. And that proposal was up for debate at a city committee today. Sean Jeffords has the highlights.
Toronto's hotels are preparing for a boom this month as Taylor Swift and her legion of fans descend on the city for it. That $380 million event has a $95 million funding gap, and the mayor says the city will turn to those busy hotels for help.
The hotels are doing really well. We're asking them to share their wealth because it is costly to put on a major event, whether it's Taylor Swift, Eras Tour, or FIFA World Cup.
A city committee overseeing Toronto's hosting duties dug into a plan to raise that cash. It approved a 2.5% increase to the municipal accommodation tax. City staff say that will raise $57 million to help pay for the games.
It was really important and imperative that we weren't looking at opportunities to close that gap that would have an impact on our property tax base.
The current 6% tax applies to every hotel room or short-term rental in the city. The plan would see the rate temporarily jump to 8.5% for 14 months, starting next summer. This representative of the hotel industry says the city should look elsewhere for the cash.
I feel the city should review this proposal and come to terms that there's other ways of bringing revenue tools, including more aggressiveness in sponsorships.
Toronto's budget chief pushed her fellow councillors to adopt an 8% hike instead, a move that was defeated by the majority on the committee.
I can't support it. I don't think it makes us look like sound financial managers trying to reducing the rate, hoping that we might pick it up along the way. I'd rather have a surplus at the end than trying to figure out other ways to clean up a deficit.
Shelley Carroll says she suggested the change because this will be the second rate increase of the tax since 2023. And she's heard that fee, when added to existing sales tax, will hurt hotels.
They're still working in the hotel industry to build our economy through building business events here and bringing people in. And they're worried about the rate. And that's why I was sensitive to their concern of going all the way to what amounts to 21.5% taxes on a hotel room.
The plan now moves to City Council for a final vote next week. Sean Jeffords, CBC News, Toronto.
A couple of years to go before Toronto's WNBA team laces up for their first game, but excitement is already building, and it's putting the spotlight on businesses focused on women's sports. Tali Ricci spoke with the founder of She's for Sports about how the platform is helping to connect fans to the WNBA.
We launched 8 years ago, and really it was out of conversations I had with other women, women who were in my circle or friends and family who were sports fans, athletes. One woman I could think about in particular who worked in the sports industry, and just I was asking them, what's your connection to sport? You know, how do you feel about sport? And I got a lot of interesting reactions. You know, my friend who actually worked for a sports company was like, my environment is very sexist. I had other colleagues who just said they didn't see stories and they didn't see they didn't hear the voices of other women in sports on TV or, online. From those conversations, I'm like, what can I do about it?
Tell me about how your role and what you do has changed over the last 8 years.
Yeah, when I first started, there wasn't that many platforms out there that, interviewed women or told their stories. There were some in the States, but not a lot in Canada. So I could definitely see the difference with that. We started interviewing Canadian women in sport, whether they were athletes, coaches, Olympians, Paralympians, health nutritionists, and we just saw the interest growing. And in the second year of She's for Sports, I decided to say, let's have some events. Let's create safe spaces where women can come together to talk about sports, talk about their journey and their careers in sport, and talk about things that we don't always talk about, like pay equity and growing the pipeline for coaches. So that's sort of something that changed with She's for Sports over the years. We added events. There are only 4 Canadians in the WNBA, and today I get a chance to speak to a very special one, Kia Nurse, 3-time Olympian, professional basketball player with the WNBA and Canada's national women's basketball team.
How did the WNBA coming to Canada change what you do?
We've been highlighting players, athletes, the culture of the WNBA through our digital content over the years, and I've attended some WNBA games myself as a fan, but also getting content and bringing it back to our Canadian fans here. But what it has done for me is it has sparked a new project called Convos with the W, where we sit down with WNBA players, women that are in the W, to talk about their journey, talk about the culture, talk about the growth. And we're doing that through our digital video series, and it's been a lot of fun, but it's also a new project that She's for Sports is leading, and it's a lot of fun.
And do you think in this space there's kind of still a lack of coverage or outlets to learn more about the W?
Yeah, let's look at it. The media environment is changing, some news stations are closing, some sports reporters are being let go. So fans need other platforms, other places to find information about these athletes. You're finding that fans want to follow their athletes' journeys off of the court, off of the pitch, whatever sport they're in. They want to know a little bit more about them. So definitely social media has helped, streaming has helped, and making sure that fans are on the go, that they can use their phone and follow along with these athletes. And She's for Sports definitely been a part of that to provide that access.
And tell me about the upcoming event on November 5th.
Very exciting. I'm working with a company called The Give and Grow. We are coming together to celebrate the WNBA culture, celebrate women in sports, myself and the founder Olivia. We're both business owners in sports, and we're also bringing along Whitney Bell from WNBA Toronto, just to talk about the excitement of the W coming to Canada. It's Canada's team, right? And what does that mean for fans? What does that mean for the growth of the league, And I think we need more of these spaces in Toronto, in Canada, to get fans excited, and to also show, as I said, other women and girls that, you can be a founder of a sports company.
What are your hopes for the future of women in sports?
I want to see more events, more activations, more access for fans, whether it's merchandise, whether it's coming to an event like our event, whether it's carrying these narratives and these stories about these wonderful women in sports and players. Toronto is such a great sports city. Canada, in terms of the research, there's a lot of research out there that says Canadians, men or women, want to watch women's sports. So we have to give fans, all of these things, because they're going to just come back for more. We have to continue to make sure people know that women have been at the foundation of building sports in this country, and we should definitely be getting our props. But
let's go to Chris Potter now with a check on the extended forecast. And Chris, warm temperatures making a comeback tomorrow.
Yeah, don't call it a comeback. They've been here for you. Think about this fall so far. Yeah. We've been, once again, warmer than normal. And that's going to be the case for tonight, tomorrow night, and into Wednesday. And even though temperatures are going to back off a little bit Thursday and Friday, we get back into a lot of sunshine as high pressure builds in. And that's what was lacking today. Cloud cover, on and off light showers, but we were still a bit above normal temperature-wise. Normal daytime highs around 9, and temperatures today did peak at around 14 degrees. But look at the discrepancy in the daytime highs. Ottawa, 5 degrees. Down towards Windsor, 21. We were kind of locked in between that at 14. Obviously, there's warmer air moving in from the southwest, and that's going to continue to be the case tonight and tomorrow, and that warm air will continue to ride into eastern Ontario, so the entire region will likely have not only well above normal temperatures, but the potential for some record highs to be broken tomorrow. Now, we still have some wet weather out there moving through the region. The most organized rain is now clearing into Quebec, even some snow mixing in those areas. For us, we'll dry out through the overnight. The cloud does linger through much of the overnight. You combine that cloud cover that kind of acts like insulation and those southerly winds, temperatures will likely hold in the mid-teens for the overnight lows. Not so low, once again, considering the normal daytime high is close to 9. Dry for tomorrow. We should start to see a lot more sunshine during the afternoon. Clear and quiet through much of the evening. Then we start to see increase in clouds just before midnight. There is a wave of rainfall, conveniently timed, that will move on through the region during the overnight hours, but it should be clear to the east before daybreak. For Wednesday, it's not mostly sunshine, but we'll start to see a little bit of sunshine from time to time. Mix of sun and cloud is the best way to describe it. And for Thursday, sunshine with just a few clouds as once again this big dome of high pressure moves in, but with the wind flow from the north, that's what creates the cool down. In terms of overnight lows, mid-teens for the most part, 18 down towards Windsor. Ottawa, you're actually set to climb through the overnight hours as that warmer air continues to move in. Daytime highs tomorrow around 22 in Toronto, mid-20s in Windsor, close to 20 towards Ottawa, and once again, it's a dry weather day to get out there and enjoy. 18 degrees for you on Wednesday, 13 for Thursday, bright and sunny though, but a little bit fresher, especially for the mornings. Temperatures are going to drop down for overnight lows back into the single digits. Friday, highs near 13, 10 for us on Saturday, showers by next Sunday. It's going to be a beautiful day, Kelda. I'm thinking about going golfing tomorrow, but it's my wife's birthday, so I might have to skip that.
You might have
to skip it.
rain check, yeah. Thanks so much, Chris.
You got it.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.